The CEO of Pfizer has said that it is likely that people are going to need a third shot, a booster shot of the Pfizer COVID vaccine a year after getting the first two, and that there may just need to be an annual routine of shots. And apparently the J&J guy, I don't know if it was the CEO or not, said something similar as well with regard to their shot. So, of course, this raises the question, like maybe this is just going to be like the flu shot, where the virus is evolving out from under us as we know it to be. And so boosters are required to get a closer fit to the actual virus. The people who are developing the vaccine can get a closer fit to the actual virus that is maximally in circulation at the time. But it does raise the question for me. It raises so many questions, but do any of the vaccine manufacturers actually have a good idea of like what a closer fit to any of the current variants would be? Or do we have any way of knowing what variants are actually going to be maximally circulating?
So let's separate two things.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional booster shots are necessary not because of the change of the virus, but because of the degradation of the immunological memory.
You're right. I used booster.
Yeah.
I used booster incorrectly, although the Pfizer CEO did as well.
That does not breed confidence.
Yeah, I was using his language, but you're right.
But anyway,
you're right.
I don't want to nitpick. I just want to say there are two reasons. So the flu shot that you supposedly should get every year is about the fact that it's a different.
It's a new vaccine.
Flu. Yeah, it's a new vaccine
because it's a new flu.
Right,
and so, that seems like that's what may be happening here with COVID.
Well, both things are likely to happen here with COVID. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So. On the one hand, we have the very frightening prospect that the way that these vaccines target the spike protein is going to cause these escape mutants to dominate, and that we will be chasing. We're basically just signed up for an arms race, and that we are learning of the nature of that arms race. That this is, I don't know what.
So why aren't both things always happening, though? I mean, and again, we're going to go back to virus origins, and maybe this is evolving so rapidly in such a unpredictable way, precisely because it is not like any other virus we've seen before. But why doesn't say needing to get a rabies booster every 10 years if your titers are low, for instance, not about both. Increasing your titers, and also with new variants of rabies that has evolved in those 10 years.
In the rabies case, it's easy, I think, because rabies is so very rare that what you have is a virus that doesn't have a large canvas on which to paint, and for which there is not a lot of pressure for it to evolve. Since such a tiny percentage of any population has rabies, the point is traditional rabies always has naive animals to infect, so it doesn't get an advantage for changing. So
potentially the more common the pathogen, the more difficult it will be to make a vaccine that is targeted for a while. And maybe even, I actually have no idea, but I've been tracking for decades, like hoping for the malaria vaccine, like really, really hoping for it. And it turned, maybe an mRNA vaccine. And I don't know. But somehow that one is super elusive in a way that other mosquito vector diseases like yellow fever have not been.
Yep. So I think two things are true. One, there is a large landscape of immunological understanding, and then there's a large landscape of what we don't know. I mean, I will not cite Donald Rumsfeld in this case, but his wisdom is relevant here with respect to what we do and don't know.
It turns out there is some far more ancient philosophical thing that he was actually riffing on when he talked about the known knowns and the known unknowns and the unknown knowns and the unknown unknowns.
Well, the thing is, I'm a little addicted to the cringe when you invoke Donald Rumsfeld as a source of wisdom. He's like the evil Yogi Berra or something like that. But but in any case, so we may or may not be dealing with both a booster situation here, where your immunological memory decays over time, and therefore you need a booster to remind your immune system, hey, this thing is still out there. And we are almost certainly dealing with this case where we are putting intense pressure on the spike protein by targeting it very narrowly with a vaccine that focuses only on that, and indeed only on the original variant of the spike protein, which basically means that any way in which the spike protein can change that is electromagnetically dissimilar from the original spike protein gives it an advantage in hiding from the immune system. And so voila, there's your arms race.
Yeah. Yep. There's your arms race. People who have been fully vaccinated can still spread the virus? ? True. Are there other examples of this outside of COVID? It seems like more scare tactics. So this is something just got stated today, right? Was it Fauci? Was it the WHO? I don't know. Someone just said this.
Well, this is apparently true, as far as I know. It's not all that rare because vaccines are essentially never perfectly successful in preventing disease.
Okay, but
yeah,
it seems to me that you just conflated two things. If you are vaccinated and you can't get it, can you spread it?
No.
So you what you said seems like it conflates these two things, and what Fauci or the WHO or whoever's saying this thing, they're not being clear.
Well, the evidence is clear. Right. So,
well, I hope that's true. Like every time I've tried to go down this particular rabbit hole, I can't distinguish between these two possibilities because they're not sharing it. So like if they are claiming that somehow this magic virus and this magic vaccine are combining in such a way that if you're vaccinated, you can't get the thing, but you can still spread it.
No.
Like, I don't know what planet we live on, and I really want to see what those data look like, but
that's not what anybody's saying.
Okay.
You can get it if you had the vaccine. You can get it, and you're much more likely to be asymptomatic because one thing that the vaccine seems very good at is reducing the severity of disease, which also reduces the degree to which you are likely to transmit it because, of course, your symptoms are a matter of the virus producing.
On the other hand, being vaccinated, you're less likely to be taking the same kinds of precautionary measures to avoid spreading, and you are going to think that you're immune to it because you were vaccinated. And we did a whole takedown of that crap paper on asymptomatic spread being really, really common.
Yeah.
But we still don't know. Like we just took down that paper. We don't know to what degree asymptomatic spread actually can happen. It's clearly less than symptomatic spread.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we don't know. And so if you've got vaccinated people who assume that they're now immune, who's small proportion of them are not, but are behaving as if they are, they will be, if they do get it, they will be more likely to spread it than if they had not been vaccinated, actually, because they presumably would have been behaving differently.
Yes, and the frightening possibility here is if you have been vaccinated, you have been vaccinated against the original version of the spike protein, which means what are you likely to get? What is likely to get around the immune system's vaccinated state is a variant. Therefore, if you spread it, what are you likely to spread? Some variant for which the vaccine is not.
It's selective pressure for a vaccine avoidant virus.
Exactly. Which again, welcome to the arms race.
Right. Cool. What is your current thinking on relative vaccine safety? Heather, I believe you said that you would prefer a viral vector vaccine for yourself. Thoughts on the recent blood clot stories? There's a lot of questions in there. We already talked a little bit about the blood clot stuff. I think it's like, I hope that the blood clot stories are like the seatbelts in the car. The vaccine is still affording greater safety than damage. I think pulling J&J or proposing that people should be cautious about J&J for 6 bad cases in over 6 million is an insane thing to have done. Those numbers make no sense. I still wish that we had many more years behind us of these vaccines before we were being expected to take them. We will be eligible to get vaccinated soon here in Oregon, and I hope J&J remains available and that we can wait as long as possible.
Yeah, I would say the number of ways in which this is unsafe are many, and it is clear, and we are not having a proper public discussion about it. You and I are having a proper discussion, but I don't hear it elsewhere. There's the personal safety dimension. There's the safety of this vaccination campaign. There is the danger of the way markets are interfacing with the various vaccines on offer. Is there a perverse incentive driving the claim that we may need a third booster? Is there a perverse incentive that results in proclamations about the danger of one vaccine versus another? Is there a perverse incentive preventing us from discussing both the long-term risks of these vaccines and the risk of affecting the pandemic in a way that will make things worse and not better? All of these things are absent from the discussion, and they exist only discussed on the fringe, and that's absurd. And in light of all of this, the idea that we are going to be forced with vaccine passports to accept vaccinations that have not been about which no one has been honest about the hazards is extremely distressing.
It's diabolical.
It's diabolical. And I would say, you know what? In a good regime, in a regime in which we did proper due diligence about vaccine safety, in which there were no perverse incentives surrounding the mythology about which ones are safe and how safe they are and all of that, I would be in favor of vaccine passports. But I am not at all in favor of them in the context of a system that will not discuss rationally what the actual hazards might be. And I don't think they're safe enough.